I'm seeing a lot of people who are losing faith, and they're losing faith in their control over their own world. In the tarot, this is the devil card, and unfortunately, it's showing up a lot in readings for me. And it is like whatever you consider the devil or this, it's the when you give over your freedom to another source, when you no longer feel that you're in control of your life. It's often comes up, I guess, in traditional ways where people are, they don't think they have control, and they've become addicts, like drugs and alcohol. That's one of the, a key thing that that card represents. You're not in the driver's seat anymore. The substances are driving you. But what I'm seeing more and more of these days is where they're not doing drugs and alcohol so much, but they're just being frightened to death by the news, and they're looking at their, like, again, all the things that come through the social media and other sources that make life look really scary and hopeless, and to the point where they stop having hope. And they're watching so much of this stuff online and feeling so bad, um, that they're paralyzed. They're under the control of that fear. They don't want to have kids. They don't want to go forward. They don't. It's just it's sad, as I say, to see that. But I'm seeing that's probably the most thing I'd like to share with the audience today too. Turn off the social media, or look at some good stories, and because, like, if you dwell too much, your brain starts thinking of the evil and the forces and all this kind of things. It's designed to frighten you, and it is very frightening. And when it frightens you to the point where it's controlling you, so that you don't even know how to think anymore, that's the same as alcohol and drug addiction. You feeling like you don't have personal control, and you always do. You could just turn it off. You know, maybe that's simple, but and probably too simple, because it's you got to think through. There are problems in the world. There always have been, but you're in the driver's seat. You're not letting go of the wheel to Hitler or to Putin. You're always working towards some kind of better world, where you know you are making a difference and that you can make a difference. When these people feel that you're not, and make you feel that way, there's nothing I can do. I can't do anything. It's just going to hell. They've got you. So
So, what would you say to somebody that's, struggling with finding hope? They're really, really trying and wanting to find something good in their lives. But for some reason, I mean, because you also know the times we live in. There's so much, first of all, war going on. So sometimes we fear for our health, for our families. There's also a lot of a health crisis going on, where there's all these diseases going around. Next to that, it seems like inflation almost everywhere you are on the globe right now. It almost seems like you get even less for your buck. Add to that list the fact that AI is apparently taking all of the jobs, and even before that happens, we're worrying about it. We're living in this constant, fight or flight. So the average family just trying to make ends meet, like maybe having 2 jobs or so, they might just be struggling so hard to find, like, what am I living for? Like, what is my purpose other than waking up, going to work, making minimum wage, and then going back to work again? Like, how would you point them towards the direction that they can maybe reconnect with their power? Because maybe that's a bit lost.
Again, excellent question, Sabrina. And the answer is, pray. I mean, talk, speak, meditate. just get out of the barrage of all that negativity, um, and rediscover your faith and your purpose. Um, and think perhaps that all the struggle is is purposeful. That there's a reason for it, and the reason for it to maybe to take you out of your complacency, or maybe that's not the right word, but to rattle your cage enough so that you can climb out of it and reconnect with what's really important in life. Which of course is, to me, is that relationship that we have with the Almighty, with the Great Spirit, with the universe, um, with the good forces of nature, and this, life is really really short in terms of the big picture of our existence, and we're on a spiritual journey that we can't. There's help. There's it's the don't think that your intentions and your prayers are not answered. They'll always be. And if you have a huge faith in, again, you probably, like, people have lost their faith. They've given over their power to the other side, and that's what they want. Think of that. They want to keep you fearful. Because fear is control. So it's hard to do, but it's an important thing to do as a human being, that you need to reconnect with your faith, and your faith that it's a beautiful world, and it's a beautiful thing to be a human being. It's not easy, and every day can be a struggle, but the struggle is what makes us human, and what makes us strong, and what pushes us forward to a better life. We wouldn't want it any other way. We don't want other things to be responsible for our happiness, or we want it to be. It should be us who's doing that every day. So think about that. Think about, regardless of what happens. Like, there's a lot of examples of that. People, let's say, even who are in prison, but they still feel free. You know what I mean? Like, because they haven't given themselves over to the fear, and they know they're innocent, let's say, but throughout history, there's been so many people who have suffered injustice. I don't think, I'm sure you have. I know I have. It's a thing. And you ask the universe or God, why me? Why me? How come? I should look. And you can't compare yourself to others, because that'll only lead to vanity or bitterness. It's So it's just you and the universe. It's just you and your sense of connection to a great power of faith and love and kindness. I think all humans know that. And just engage in the day-to-day struggle. It's the work of every day to challenge these things and not give in to the fear, because if we do, it's like being lost in the woods. When you give in to the fear, you've given up. You've given, Is
Yeah.
this easy? No, no. And especially for people like, say, you, or people like myself, who deal with spirituality and the incredible power um, of that and to cause damage. So anyway, does that make sense? I hope so.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it reminds me of a question that Joe Dispenza always asks, which is, what would love do? So that's a compass that I tend to use more and more nowadays, that I do my best to act as my kindest, most loving self. Now, some days that's easier, other days it's not as easy. But the way that I go through it is I always try to, because, there will be situations that will get super worked up and you'll want to have an explosive reaction.
Hmm.
But I'll always think of, when I look back on this, will I be proud of my behavior? Will
Hmm.
I be proud of the fact that I'm implementing the lessons that I'm trying to learn now? And in that moment, that always tones me down, because I'm thinking, well, let me take a minute and let me just not immediately react. Let me just take a beat. And then I go into, my work of, is it really about me? Is it maybe that, that other person is just having a horrible day and they're just lashing out? So I don't have to accept it, but it does help with me not getting all worked up and then bringing, all this anger back to them, which cannot possibly end well.
That's right. Yeah, and that's what it is. And another way to look at it is just like lack of ego, I guess. Like sort of say that we have, I don't know, we have power to change others, but we should use that power to change ourselves, not others. It's kind of,
Exactly.
yeah, that's what you've just basically said in a more eloquent way than I did. That it's always just remember, you have free will. You're not you're not tied up in a box. You can climb out. And another thing I always tell my people that I see that are really struggling is that it's okay to ask for help. It's that there's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of people are just too stubborn to, again, ask for help from others, or ask for spiritual help from the spirits, from I mean, ultimately from the, I use the word the universe. I know some people have trouble with that, but it's it seems to me the word that has the least baggage. I like to use the Great Spirit too. That's a native term for what we know is another word for God. It's just that, again, to just return to my idea that this new age, there's a new kind of way of looking at the Great Spirit, the great power, the one that goes back to the tablets. As human beings, we're put here looking for that connection. It's not just given to us somehow. We have to reconnect. We have to make the free will connection to that. And those of us I'm lucky enough to have a near death experience have, I think, a closer connection to that, because we've touched it. Maybe we've been there, and we're not afraid of dying. And that maybe is the first step of toward a better world, if all of us just lose that fear of dying. We're going to die, so make the most of the moment, make the most of each moment. It's a very short period of our existence that we know as human beings. And we're here to change. We're here to learn and accept that, accept that relationship, and accept our position in the world. I think we'd all be happier people, and we'd appreciate the world because it's all connected. All of us human beings are the same kind, and animals are kind too. Like uh, the whole grand harmony of creation. We feel best when we're vibrating and connecting through that. And I know, like when I do readings or play music or even shoveling dirt, let's say, you get into a flow. I think people have had that moment of transcendence, transcending your human plane, and knowing that there's a far bigger piece of everything that we're part of. And that can be it is very transformational experience, and a healing experience for all of us. When you have a near death experience, you're confronted with it point blank, but there's other experiences that are similarly, like and they usually come in nature. They always seems to be that the case when you just have that sense of clarity and purpose, and everything makes sense. Those moments, I call them moments of wonder, that you can't sustain them, but you can collect them. And I think life is a sort of story of collecting them. Like my hair is standing on, I'm feeling it right now, actually. So that's really great. Because they don't, you can't force them. They just have to come on you. And when they do, collect them and be grateful, because that's really what, to me, what life is for. It's like, what other purpose could it have? It's not the purpose to rule the world, or it's about me. It's not, again, it's the most humbling thing.
Exactly. And it's, if there's anything I think that really came through for me in this conversation, was how important being selfless and letting go of, that ego, and distinguishing between what you really are, which is just pure love, and what your ego wants you to be, which is like,
Mhm.
why would you do that to me? Like, what do you think about me? And all
Yeah.
those things that we often just get really into our heads about, and just being a bit more humble about it, and trying to understand that we're just a very, very small part, and we're here to just be loving and kind, and do our best. I mean, that's
Yeah,
essentially all we can do, right?
that's exactly it. I think, did you give it your best shot? You know, that's, I always say to people too, that's so key. You know, you can never be perfect, but did you try your best? Did you?
Exactly. And
You
there's
know,
always an
I love
opportunity for.
Michael J. Fox. He has a saying. I've heard that. But he says, "I try for perfection. No, I try for excellence." Sorry, he says, "I try to be excellent. I leave perfection up to God." Because
Oh, that's
that
what
just
we
leads to
say.
anger. And, yeah. Hmm?
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
exactly what we say in the Netherlands. So when you get graded, in school or in college, it's
Oh.
very weird, but they always
Mhm.
say, well, you never get a 10 or an A, whatever the max is, because that's for God. So you get
Oh,
graded
oh,
from
nice. I like
everything
that.
below. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good way to stay humble. Yeah, that's for sure. That's a good way to stay humble and know that there's always more to do. There's always more. You can be better. You can be stronger. You can be smarter. You can learn something new. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. Always hope for the, and you don't want to be perfect. You don't you don't want to get, that'd be boring. Who wants that? We always got to be struggling to get something done, something better. That's the challenge of life. And yeah, it's good. Life is good. Life is not evil. It's not meant to be bad. It's but it is temporary. It's there's a big it's yeah, but it's purposeful. And you feel, if you feel purpose and you feel faith and you feel like humble, and you are always open to new things, I suppose, and um, you know, uh, enjoy the simple things, the free things in life. It's not about fancy cars necessarily. I hate to use that metaphor, but what I mean is that it's love freely given, freely received. It's the sunshine on a warm day. It's the beauty of a rain shower. It's those moments of clarity that we have, that I like. Again, I like to call them moments of wonder, that you can maybe just look at a bumblebee on a dandelion, and you're just in wonder of this life, that we're given, this miracle of existence that we have. And you just feel a shift that just moves you into a new plane, a new vibrational energy. And it goes away because your life gets in the way, and then pretty soon you got to wash the dishes and stuff like that. But it's you got to collect those moments, those butterfly moments, those moments of joy and wonder and just clarity that come to us. And the closer we can come to an existence, like to say that we're not alone, that we're connected always, the better off we're going to be. Being disconnected from the highest power is like I say, it's like hell. And being connected is very empowering, and you feel that you're making the right decisions, and they're not forced on you, and they're not given to you by fear. You're not fearful. You're not doing things out of fear. You're doing things out of love and courage. Yeah. I see a lot of courage cards come up too. People who I doing readings for, and it's hard, but it's like I say, you've got to have the courage to move forward with this conflict. A lot of times, I see the tarot as a 78 card or 78 page book about the human experience, written in graphical form. And being a student of human nature, I think Shakespeare has, like, I'm also a Shakespeare scholar, and I've studied all those plays and read like a lot of them many times, but he had a grasp on the nature of what it means to be human. And I think here in the tarot deck, it's passed on to us, a book hidden in plain sight. It's not written down, but the different parts of the tarot, the 78 cards of the tarot, have a representation of our human nature. I think that's why they work so well as a divinatory tool, because the vibration, if it's done right and through the reader, the combination of knowledge and intuition and the right sense of helping the person forward, it pulls the right card at the right time for that person. And that is available because there's every card. The 78 cards are so reflective of what it means to be human and what our relationship to the universe should be or could be and needs to be. So that I always look at it, there are no bad cards in the tarot. They're all there to help you forward, to form a closer relationship with the universe, discover why we're here, discover how to get through problems, and just be more aware of what it means to be human and understand the human condition and the relationship as a child of the universe. We're not the only ones. We're all in the same sort of plane. Yeah.
So that's such a beautiful explanation, and I don't think I've ever heard such a beautiful explanation about what the tarot is, to be honest. Because you hear, I mean, and I've heard a lot of, the basic of you can read, you can get guidance on what you need, and but it's always very transactional. It was never so, it feels like purposeful, the way you've described it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, now, if I could just do a plug for my book. Sorry. That's, when I wrote this book on the tarot, I saw that as very much a self-help book. The tarot can be used as a self-help book for ourselves, understanding the human condition, answering some of our big questions, and helping us through some little details. So, what my intention was that you could use the tarot, draw a card in the right way with right intention, and then read about that card and see if that's what you need to hear at this particular time, if it resonates with you. And hopefully it does, and you're helped forward for your whatever it is that has entered your life, like so many other human beings over the years, whether it's loss, whether it's grief, whether it's joy, whether it's reward, whether it's discovery. I'm still learning about human nature. It's an endless topic. We're not simple creatures by any stretch of the imagination. And as I learn more about the tarot, it teaches me more about what it means to be human. I am working on another book on it to go deeper into each card, and I'm looking forward to publishing that someday soon. Again, for people who are interested, I am publishing it online with my website, as I work on it. So it's kind of a work in progress, which I'll probably be working on till the day I die. Yeah.
And it's amazing. And it's so good to know that we can also use it for ourselves, right? Because
Yeah,
I,
I think yes.
I used to always think you go to somebody that needs to read it for you.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's there for ourselves. It'll never be quite as good as somebody who's reading for you. But I think it has a strong value, even just to learn about it yourself. Like whether that, like, use my book or just draw one card and learn about that card. My next book would be deeper. So again, each card would explain a lot about that condition. Um, because it's because it's in there, and not all tarot decks are created equally either, but they're all similar, and they've passed down through us through who knows how many generations. They have the ability to change, given what humans need at a given time. They're flexible enough to adapt to different lives, different generations. And I think, like right now, just to be off topic maybe, but the Thoth Tarot, which was developed in 1900s, where there are no kings in the deck, and that's the key to that particular deck. And I use that deck myself. There's no king there. It's the new age that's coming upon us, where every one of us is a king. Every one of us has that relate. We don't do what king and country, that is fading. It's more like, right, you are the king. And that's frightening. A lot of us just like, well, oh my God, I'm responsible for myself. So just doing what your father says, or what the church says, or what the leader of the country says you should be doing is not enough. You have to follow your own world, and this new world that's upon us, that's coming now. Again, like I say, I don't think our children's children they won't recognize the life that we live, where there's these kind of rulers, the ayatollahs and the Putins and the dictators, and you know the rule by fear, and the
It
nature
does.
of even the nature of what we think of as, yeah. Let's give you an example. Like, I remember as a child, I went to a Catholic church, a Ukrainian Catholic church, and above us in the dome there was a picture of God, representation, and he was like angry man with a flowing gray beard, and he had his finger pointed down at the congregation. And I remember as a kid just looking up, like, oh, that's scary! Holy cow! That's that notion of the Great Spirit, or the Great One, the Creator, is going to change. It's changing as we speak, and again, it's nothing new. I mean, that's what Jesus said, you know, 2,000 years ago, and there was a big change, of course, in that. But we're coming out of that age, and we're moving into even a more loving, kind, interesting age for our humanity.
Well, that's
And
definitely
I think
something.
this particular deck, I think the Thoth deck represents that clearly for me. But I'm not denying other decks, of course. But that's a big change. No king.
And it's
Yeah.
also not the first time that I've heard, to be honest, that the way of moving forward is that the old systems, the one that we've built, will be broken because they will be rendered useless or unhelpful, which is, to be fair, I think a lot of the countries that I know of are having or have had elections this year, right? And almost anybody you talk to, there's a choice between candidates, but nobody is necessarily very much in favor of one, right? You just choose between two or more people and you try to choose the more balanced one, or the one that doesn't seem as unhelpful. but there's never a clear choice, like truly placing your faith in somebody and believing in that person, because there's almost never a candidate that you would believe in. And that shows a
Yeah.
bit the cracks in the system, right? Like regardless of
Mhm.
which way your vote sways, because we know that that's a responsibility that we have. But what baffles me is that everybody just says, well, yeah, that's the better option given the three that we have. But
Yeah.
there's no clear winner.
Yeah. The option is to dismantle the system and rebuild it again, so that we don't have that kind of leadership choices. That there's a third way, and that's the way. It's going to take some time, but revolutions, changes like that, are happen over periods of time that perhaps in a lifetime we can't feel, but over a course of a generation, it changes. 2,000 years ago, they were nailing people to crosses, let's say, commonly, and everybody believed that's the way it was going to be. And there was slaves and masters for millennium, but that changed remarkably when certain Galilean prophet walked the earth a number of years ago. And I don't know if you, even in the concept of maybe you follow it, but astrology, and we're at the end of the equinox, the precession of the equinox. So for the last 2,000 years, the sun's been rising in Pisces on the first day of spring, but the backward spin of the Earth now is letting Aquarius rise in, and I think 2012. That's the Aztec calendar, the end of days. So, but again, it's a slow. It wasn't the end of the world. It's just the end of days, and we're living in it. It's going to be. We're not through it. Unfortunately, there's lots of terrible things that are going to happen over the next little while. I don't want to get into here, but I foresee it, and but we'll get through. We'll get through it. Humankind will survive, and a new age is being born as we speak. And you can see it in people like yourself and other people who are awakening to a new way of thinking. There'll be a,
No,
mhm.
no, I
And
have
eventually
to.
it'll show itself in our political systems. Eventually, there'll be different things that'll happen, but it's going to take time.
Can imagine. Now, you've mentioned, and I think it just goes, with the analogy that when you're building anew, you sort of have to wreck, or it has to
Yeah, that's
be
right.
pretty
That's right.
bad, right, to rebuild.
And the tarot show that the Tower card is what we're living in right now, where the current situation is going to be torn down, and it's not going to go easy, because those powers that hold on to forces that they through fear and intimidation of the typical quote unquote king, or dictatorial leader, is not letting go of power anytime. Very, very well, not just giving it away. It has to be completely demolished. It's kind of like we're living in a world where, like, if you think about a house renovation decision, okay, this house is really bad. So do I spend all my time fixing it up, or do I just knock it down and start building again? That's the kind of decision we're moving into this kind of the next little while. And
No,
yeah, it's yeah. So be strong out there. But have faith. Have faith. Don't let that the fear control you, and hopelessness enter your heart.
you also mentioned some maybe not very good events happening that you were able to see. Is there anything that you can share about that? Mostly because it makes me terrified, so I can imagine maybe it scares other people as well. I don't want to push you, so if you don't feel like we're ready for it, then absolutely do not share it, please. But
Um, there's going to be a nuclear disaster. Maybe I don't know time wise, but I see it, and it's going to be very bad. It's going to poison a lot of our world and our lives. A lot of water. It's I'm not sure how it'll transpire, but I see it coming, and it's one of the heralds of the new age, one of the teardown points.
Now, I can imagine, because throughout this conversation, I see you being, a very humble person, and it strikes me that you don't talk about things that you're maybe not very knowledgeable on. So I can imagine you haven't seen it once, or it wasn't just a tiny clue that you've received about that.
Correct. Yeah, I don't want to dwell on that again, and nothing is for certain, and I can't tell you when. Um, I'm not 100%. Nobody is 100%. And another thing, like with a lot, when I do readings, a lot of people like to say, "Well, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen?" And I can't. Time is different on the other side. You can't really nail time down like that. It'll happen when it's happened, and it's again not necessarily the way you envision it. Because I'm not always 100%. Nobody can be. God only is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let us definitely hope that it's not accurate, and that we'll come back to you and say that it hasn't happened. I think that's the best scenario that we can hope for.
In terms of 3 years ago, somebody asked me like, what would be the future of Russia and Ukraine, and I looked into it, and I said, well, Russia will lose, and it's going to lose all of its possessions, but it'll come back to a simpler, happier Russia, an actual Russian people, Russian nation. It will not be and Ukraine will fill a void for a very important place in the world, and in particular in that part of the world. When I gave that prediction, people said I'm nuts. That will not happen. But that's how I saw it. And it hasn't happened yet. I still can't put a date on that. I can't say that the war will end tomorrow. I wish I could, but I still stand by that prediction. And I can't say when. And again, I could be wrong, but I still believe in that. And also, like again, it's like I say, when this change will happen. But I unfortunately I do see a lot of destruction that's forthcoming to our world.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, I don't. Yeah.
No, it's definitely, I have asked, so definitely thank you for sharing. And I can imagine it takes a toll, right, on you as well, to be able to share those messages, because I can only imagine it's not easy, and it's probably not what you would want to do, to share these kinds of messages. But it's important that we acknowledge it.
Yeah, maybe I'll someday say more about it. But yeah, for now, just make the most of each moment. The present is a present. It's and if you make the present every day, the future is much brighter than otherwise, because each day is a movement toward betterment if we look at it that way. And there's some things that we're not in control of, but we're certainly in control of what we feel inside, and the way we approach our own relationship with the higher power. We're totally in control of that. And so, yeah, make the most of it. Don't waste this beautiful life. Be grateful. Again, gratitude should be practiced every day. It's easy to become negative and not even see the beauty of a flower that's just freely growing there. Mm-hmm.
Very true. So, Marv, how can
we're getting into heavy stuff here, Sabrina? I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
But,
neither was I have to tell.
So.
But tell me, how can people find you and your work?
Okay. Well, the best thing is to look me up online. Either Google my name, you'll get some of my music, perhaps. But you'll also, if you Google psychic, you'll my psychic website's called Universe Dash Psychic. So Universe Psychic, and or Universe hyphen Psychic, and my music site's marvmachura.com. Just myself. So those two on the World Wide Web, that miraculous thing that we are on right now, Sabrina, and is the best way. So look me up then, and I'll be happy to hear from you and answer your questions, or just talk, maybe do a reading, whatever transpires, what needs to be done, it'll happen.